One of the most challenging speeches to make engaging is the demonstrative speech. If you don't know what a demonstrative speech is, it's essentially a how-to speech, which is a step-by-step process that helps us demonstrate something. And we're going to talk about how to make this speech, despite its logical and very explanatory nature, how to make it engaging so that our audience actually listens to the speech and also retains the information that we provide. Hey, my name is Rideep and I'm the founder of Frantically Speaking, and I love learning about effective communications and sharing those learnings with you so that you can level up your communications game as well. So we're going to break this down into three parts. First is how to choose a topic. The next is how to write a demonstrative speech. And lastly, some elements that we can use to make our speech a lot more engaging. Starting off with how to choose a topic. Now, if you already have a topic in place, just skip this section. Timestamps are given in the description. When it comes to choosing a topic, keep three things in mind. First is to know how much time you have to deliver that speech. If you have a very short amount of time, don't pick a topic where you are asked to describe something in a very elaborate fashion. Next is knowing your audience. What I mean by this is knowing the knowledge your audience has on the topic that you're presenting on. If the audience has not been introduced to the topic before, then you know you need to add a lot more foundational elements to your entire speech, and vice versa if they already have a bit of experience in the place you're talking about. And the third thing to keep in mind is to know whether your topic is suitable for a speech. For example, if you're doing a speech on something that requires you to have props to demonstrate your point, and if you do not have access to the props, then do not choose that topic. If you require a PPT and you do not have access to a PPT, again, do not choose the topic. Pretty straightforward. Okay, moving on to how to write a demonstrative speech. The first thing we need to talk about here is purpose. I was watching a video by one of my favorite salespeople, Zig Ziglar, and he was talking about the fact that when he went to college, he had to attend one of his worst, most hated subjects, history. But the teacher spent the entire lecture just explaining the importance and purpose of learning history. And Zig Ziglar came out of the classroom more excited than ever to go back to learn that subject. So spend the first half of the speech explaining the importance of the topic and why the audience should pay attention to you. Next is ethos, or credibility of you as the speaker. Why should the audience really listen to you? Mention your expertise, mention your experience in the field before you actually get into the step-by-step process. If you're not an expert, it's fine as well. You can call that out, say that, hey, I'm not really an expert over here. I've spent the past few months trying this thing out and I'm here to share my learnings with you. That's fine as well. And the next is the meat of your entire speech, the actual step-by-step process. To make this part engaging, we need to resort to storytelling. For example, if you're giving a speech on a step-by-step guide on how to invest in the stock market, don't just write down the steps and speak about the steps one after the other. Instead, add a protagonist. It could be you, it could be a friend, it could be a fictional character, but talk about that person who wanted to invest in the stock market and how they went about it. What are the challenges they face? What did they do wrong? What did they do right? And as you're going about that story, keep pointing out the steps that that person is taking to invest in the stock market and how they did it correctly. It'll be a lot easier for the audience to actually retain that information when it's provided in a story format. And lastly, make sure to summarize all your points. If you're giving a lot of information, it's good to just summarize them towards the end. And if possible, if you have time, also add in a Q&A section towards the end for a few minutes so that the audience can clear any doubts that they might be having. And the last thing we're going to talk about is how to keep your demonstrative speech a little more engaging. The first thing here is to make sure your speech is simple. And you might be thinking that this does not fall into engaging an audience, but it does. I've given demonstrative speeches where the information is just so convoluted that the audience is just lost. There's no way they can engage with it even if they're interested in the topic. Make sure you run the speech by somebody who is either going to be part of your audience or is in a similar demographic range as your audience is going to be, so that you're not the only one who understands your speech and it's simple enough for people to consume and read. Next thing to make sure is that your introduction and ending are gripping and memorable. When it comes to introductions, you can try and establish purpose with a question that provokes the audience to think and pay attention to you. Here's an example of Julian Treasure's TED Talk doing exactly that. Watch out at the beginning and how he uses a question to grip his audience.
The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say, I love you. And yet many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world?
When it comes to the end of the speech, we have to try and make it a little memorable. Even after we summarized all our points, we can add in something that actually makes the audience think, remember, ponder over what we've just said. Here's an example of Sir Ken Robinson's speech. Watch how he ends his speech with a quote from Benjamin Franklin.
There's a wonderful quote from Benjamin Franklin. There are three sorts of people in the world. Those who are immovable, people who don't get it, they don't want to get it, they're not going to do anything about it. There are people who are movable, people who see the need for change and are prepared to listen to it. And there are people who move, people who make things happen. And if we can encourage more people, that will be a movement. And if the movement is strong enough, that's, in the best sense of the word, a revolution. And that's what we need. Thank you very much.
Now, the topic of speech openings and speech endings is very vast, so I'm adding 2 links in the description below. One is on speech opening lines and the other is on speech ending lines. They'll both give you enough ideas on how you can start and end your speech in a gripping manner. The next thing we can do to make our speech interesting is visuals. We can try adding props, PowerPoint presentations, or something along the lines that makes our speech a little different. I was once attending an event where the speaker was talking about teamwork. And for some reason, there was a drum kit on stage. The speaker didn't speak when he came on stage. He directly went to the drum kit and started playing the parts one by one. He first started off with just the cymbal, then he added a little bit of bass, and then he added a bit of snare, and he started playing all of it together. And it's only then when he came on stage and started his speech and spoke about how we can only shine if we all play our parts together in harmony. It was a very different way of bringing out the message of teamwork, and because there was a drum kit and there was a visual representation of teamwork in a different way, it made the speech a lot more engaging and we were ready to listen to him for a lot more long. The next thing is to try and play around with the audience. This is fairly straightforward. If you're giving a demonstrative speech, you can call on volunteers on stage, you can ask the audience questions, you can do polls while you're on stage. Anything that keeps them a little more engaged, anything that makes you interact with them is a good thing to add in your speech. And the last thing is extended resources. If you've given them a lot of information, try and give them a handout towards the end, which is an elaborate version of your speech, which includes extended resources, more places that they can visit to learn more about the topic, where they can contact you, learn more about you, anything that will help them know the topic a little better and will help them retain the information long after the speech is complete. Hey, we hope you liked that video. If you have any more questions around public speaking, communications, or anything around those topics, we have an entire website with in-depth articles, resources dedicated just for that. So go check out franticallyspeaking.com.